I'm Misty Rodriguez. I'm 30 years old. And last month, 200 people watched my family try to erase me from existence. Not metaphorically, literally. It happened at my niece's first Holy Communion celebration. A beautiful hall, white and gold decorations, soft music, smiling guests. Everything looked perfect. Until the slideshow started. The moment I realized I was never meant to exist. The screen lit up with the title, The Rodriguez Family Legacy. People leaned forward. Phones came out. Smiles everywhere. Photo after photo played. 1990, my sister Jillian as a baby. 1992, her first steps. 1995, her birthday party. That was the year I was born. But I wasn't in a single photo. Not one. At first I thought maybe it was a mistake. Then it kept going. Christmas, vacations, birthdays. I started recognizing memories, moments I knew I had been part of. But on that screen, I was gone. Or worse, blurred, half erased, like someone had taken scissors to my life. Then came the final slide. Elegant white text appeared slowly. The one who almost ruined everything, again. People laughed. My mother smiled proudly. My sister raised her glass. And around 200 people started clapping. But they didn't know one thing. I didn't cry. I didn't leave. I stood up, picked up my purse, and started walking toward the projector. Because for the past 6 months, I had been preparing for that exact moment. The truth they tried to bury for 24 years. When I reached the front, I unplugged their USB, held it up, and said, "That's one version of our story." Then I plugged in mine. The screen went black, and then an official document appeared. State header, case number, my name, age, 6 years old. The room went silent. Let's go back to where it actually started. June 23, 2001. I was 6. I wasn't supposed to be awake, but I heard my parents arguing downstairs. Loud, different, dangerous. Then a crash, my mother crying. And when I looked, I saw my father standing over her, arm raised. I didn't think. I ran barefoot out the door, across the street. To one place I knew was safe. Kowalski's house. She always said, "If you ever need help, my door is open." So I believed her. I rang the bell. 8:38 p.m. She opened the door and saw a terrified child shaking, unable to speak. All I could say was, "Daddy hurt Mommy, I'm scared." She wrapped me in a blanket, sat me down, and called 911. I didn't know what 911 was. I didn't call anyone. I just ran to safety. But my family told a different story. 2 days later, CPS came. A social worker interviewed everyone. When she talked to me, she smiled gently and said, "You did the right thing." For the first time, I felt safe. But that didn't last. Because that night at dinner, my father looked at me and said, "Because of you, we have a record now." My mother added, "You made things worse." I was 6, and somehow it became my fault. The slow erasure. That was the beginning, not of healing, but of punishment. My sister became the perfect daughter. I became the problem. She got birthday parties. I got forgotten. She got rides to school. I walked alone. She got support. I got silence. I started tracking it, because kids do that when they're trying to survive. 89% of her events, they attended. 11% of mine. I won a medal in track once. I looked into the crowd. They weren't there. That medal sat on my dresser for 3 years. No one ever asked about it. And still, I tried to earn their love. I went to college, took on $100,000 in debt, became a social worker, helping kids like me. Kids blamed for things that were never their fault. Then my father got sick, And suddenly, I was useful. I paid for his insulin, $680 every month, for 6 years. I drove him to appointments, 86 out of 89. I cut my salary to take care of him. I gave everything. One day, while changing his bandages, he said, "You're doing it wrong. Jillian would have done it better." That was the moment something inside me broke. The final betrayal. Then came the will. I wasn't supposed to see it, but I did. And it said, "To my daughter Misty, nothing." Not just nothing. Worse. A message: she will never have my approval. After everything I had done, he meant it. So I went looking for the truth. I requested my CPS file, waited 18 days, opened it, and found the words that changed everything. This child did exactly what we teach children to do. She sought safety. The neighbor, not the child, called authorities. Blaming her is emotional abuse. I read that 5 times. Someone had seen me, 24 years ago. Back to the hall, where everything collapsed. Standing in front of 200 people, I read those words out loud. Every single one. Then an elderly voice spoke. From the crowd. I made that call, Kowalski. Now 92. Still alive. Still brave. She looked at my parents and said, "You punished that child for something she didn't do." Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. Then I showed everything. The receipts, the hospital logs, the truth. Slide after slide, proof after proof, until there was nothing left to deny. What happened next changed everything. People started leaving, one by one, then in groups. My sister's husband picked up their daughter and walked out. He looked at me and said, "I'm sorry. I didn't know." For the first time in my life, someone believed me. And then I walked away. Not defeated, not broken, free. 8 people walked out with me, not because they had to, but because they chose truth. What healing actually looks like. 3 months later, my life is quieter, smaller, but real. I go to therapy with people who understand. I'm rebuilding. Slowly. And last week, I met my niece for coffee. She asked me, "Why aren't you in the family pictures?" I told her the truth. Simple, gentle, honest. She held my hand and said, "You did the right thing." And just like that, a 6-year-old girl finally heard what she needed. The truth I learned. You cannot earn love from people who are committed to withholding it. Sometimes healing isn't fixing a family. Sometimes it's walking away and building a new one. I didn't ruin anything. At 6, I survived. I chose peace. If you've ever been the one blamed for telling the truth, you're not alone.